Another loaded Philadelphia Eagles now on the docket for all of you today, and we appreciate you for tuning in. We're going to take a look at the Eagles playoff picture because things have tightened after back-to-back Eagles losses to the Cowboys as well as the San Francisco 49ers. And then we're also going to preview the Sunday night football game against the Seattle Seahawks on the back half of the show. You first look at the Eagles' remaining schedule, and I am here to tell you that while the sky might be falling after two blowout losses to San Francisco and Dallas, I think that everything is going to be okay for Philadelphia. Everything is in their grasp. They control their own destiny. And when you match this Eagles schedule up with the Cowboys schedule, I think Philadelphia can win the NFC East, and they still have an opportunity to get the number one seed in home field advantage for the second consecutive year, or get that 2 seed behind the San Francisco 49ers. And the 2 seed path might honestly be a little bit easier. Week 15 on the road against the Seattle Seahawks, Monday Night Football. The Eagles are 4-point favorites in this game. Seattle has lost 4 games in a row, and they have quarterback question marks because Geno Smith did not play last week because of a groin injury. If he can't go or has a setback, Drew Lock will play once again. You can't lose to Drew Lock, but Philadelphia, they've been owned by Seattle. Have not beaten that organization since 2008. You win that game, and you can very easily win out. And why I have confidence in this team, I think that some of their issues are in-house. I think some of these issues can be fixed. And going into the playoffs, if you're able to gather some offensive momentum and you start to hit your stride, confidence is a fantastic thing. Whether you're trying to approach a fine lady at the bar or you're a football team trying to get geared up for the playoffs. If you blow out the Giants, Cardinals, and Giants, you start to get that confidence where everything is rolling in your favor going into the playoffs like the Eagles had last year as the best team in football at the time. While I also have confidence in Philadelphia to win the NFC East, I understand that the Cowboys are playing good ball right now. They have now beaten 2 teams with a winning record this year. It's coming back-to-back weeks, Seattle Seahawks and the Philadelphia Eagles. Their remaining schedule is very difficult. And over the last 3 decades, when have the Cowboys not choked in a big moment? Do you expect them to run the table here? I don't. On the road against the Bills, they're desperate. On the road against the Dolphins, they just lost on Monday night to the Tennessee Titans. At home against the Lions, and then Week 18 on the road against the Washington Commanders. That is the Cowboys' gauntlet, and the Eagles already got through their gauntlet. As for the San Francisco 49ers, this is the team to watch. They started the year with the 5-game winning streak. They lost 3 in a row. Now they've won 5 games in a row. Their schedule, somewhat easy. Bad Cardinals team, Ravens game on Christmas is going to be a very difficult one. That could be a loss. But if the Eagles and the 49ers finish the season tied, the tiebreaker goes to San Francisco. They go on the road against the Commanders, and then Week 18 at home against the Los Angeles Rams. And as you look at the NFC playoff picture here, San Francisco owns the tiebreaker, and on Monday night, with the Packers losing to the Giants, they became the first team in the National Football League to clinch a playoff spot. And because they have the tiebreaker over Philadelphia as well as the Cowboys by winning those head-to-head matchups, even though those 3 teams are tied with the 10-3 record, San Francisco, number 1 seed. Dallas Cowboys, they won the recent matchup. They slide up to number 2. Philadelphia drops all the way to 5th. And then the Lions are kind of reeling right now. They haven't played good football in a long time. 9-4, but the leader of the NFC North. So they're going to get that 3 seed because the NFC South is putrid. And then in the wild card, you have the aforementioned Birds, you have the Vikings still, as well as the Green Bay Packers at 6 and 7. Other teams in the hunt here, Rams, Seahawks, Atlanta, New Orleans, Chicago, and the Giants. You're going to face a Giants team twice down the stretch that might be fighting for a playoff spot. And those teams in the hunt, those wild card teams, of course, you have to monitor what they're doing because whether Philadelphia is in the 1 seed, the 2 seed, or the 5th seed with the NFC South paired in there, those could be first-round opponents for the Eagles. The Birds easily have the far easier schedule when you rack up their remaining opponents with the teams that the Dallas Cowboys have to face. And currently, Philadelphia is in a good spot with the Cowboys because the Eagles currently have the better NFC record. By the way, they also have the best record against winning teams this year at 5-2. So some of the overreactions, a little bit hot. A win against the Seattle Seahawks, and that game we're about to preview it here next, clinches a playoff spot for the Eagles. They pretty much are guaranteed to make it into the playoffs. According to the New York Times simulation, and they went through 320,000 simulations, the Eagles have more than a 99% chance of making the playoffs. Right now, the probability of getting a bye is 20%. Host a wild card, 50%. Wild card overall, 31%. Out, a less than 1% chance. Now, if the Eagles win out, according to that same New York Times model, the opportunity to get the number one seed and home field advantage goes all the way up to 50%. Now, if the Eagles lose to Seattle and then win the remaining games, they only have an 8% chance to get the number one seed. That's why this game against the Seahawks becomes very, very important for Philadelphia when you match up their remaining schedule, where they are in the NFC Playoff Picture, but also what's transpiring and going down with the Cowboys as well as the San Francisco 49ers. Let's ask you this poll question here, and this will be our pinned comment. We want to hear from you. What seed will the Eagles get? I think it's going to be either the 1 seed or the 2 seed, and the Cowboys go to the 5th seed. Let me know right now down in the comment section. Today's Eagles Now is sponsored by Factor, the number one ready-to-eat meal delivery service in America, and the best deal that any meal delivery service has to offer, 50% off when you use the code EaglesChat50. Look at the meals on your screen and the variety here. Sun-dried tomato chicken, boom. Honey maple barbecue ground beef, slaps. Loaded bacon shredded chicken, that smacks. And what I love about Factor is the variety of meals that they have to offer. If you want a protein-heavy meal, they have plenty of those. Keto, plenty of those. If you want to go vegetarian, or you are a vegetarian right now, there are vegetarian options as well. Everything is delivered straight to your door, fresh, never frozen, dietitian approved, chef prepared meals, and the deal? Awesome. 50% off using the code EaglesChat50. You pick your prepaid meals. They are prepped and cooked to perfection. You heat them up and enjoy them. We're going to put that link down below in the comment section as well as in the description of this video. So let's preview this game against the Seattle Seahawks. Philadelphia going to hit the road December 18th, 8:15 p.m. Eastern kickoff, 5:15 for those of you who are kicking it with us on the West Coast. Game going to take place at Lumen Field in Seattle, a historically very difficult place to play. The odds makers do like the Eagles despite being the road team and despite Philadelphia being underdogs the last 2 weeks. So that's a good sign. Philadelphia is getting 4 points or giving 4 points to Seattle. The over-under for this game is 47.5. This is a Seahawks team that Philadelphia, frankly, cannot lose to. This is a Seattle team that has really struggled and played bad football over the last 6 weeks. They just got swept by the Niners 2 times in 3 weeks. It's the first 4-game losing streak under head coach Pete Carroll. And you look at some of the ways that they've lost these games. Week 9, blown out by the Baltimore Ravens. That really started the skid, 37-3. Week 10, 29-26 win against Washington. Week 11, 17-16 loss against the Rams. Week 12 at home, 31-13 loss to San Francisco. Week 13 lost that shootout against the Dallas Cowboys, 41-35. And then this past week, in Week 14, a 28-16 loss on the road against San Francisco. As I mentioned a little bit earlier, Geno Smith dealing with that groin injury. If he can't play, Drew Lock will. They do have receiver talent, and that is obviously a concern for Philadelphia's awful secondary. DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett, Jackson Smith, and Jigba all healthy right now. And this Seahawks team, they've lost 4 games in a row, and they are fighting, scratching, and clawing for their playoff lives. You have the Eagles at 10-3, but then you look at the teams in the hunt. If the season were to end today, the Seahawks would not be in the playoffs at 6-7, and they don't have the tiebreaker over the Los Angeles Rams. So they need a little bit of help because they got swept by Sean McVay's team. The problems with Seattle that they can pose is the receiving core. It's DK Metcalf. It's Tyler Lockett. It's Jackson Smith and Jigba, especially on third downs because this Eagles defense can't get off the field. And in the red zone, they can't stop a nosebleed. What's also an issue is the historical context here. The Philadelphia Eagles have not beaten the Seahawks since 2008. The Eagles are the far better team, far more talented team, far superior team. And with the desperation level that the Seahawks have, I understand it. But this Eagles team is desperate as well. 3 straight losses to kick off December. Can you imagine what the Sports Talk Radio call-in lines are going to be like in Philadelphia? Can you imagine the outrage here on Eagles Now? We don't want that to happen. Philadelphia doesn't want it to happen, and that's why I think the Eagles are winning this game. My keys to the game. Philadelphia simply has to stop turning the football over. Over the last 5 games, they have 5 fumbles and 2 interceptions. If you're not playing a clean brand of football, I don't care who you're playing, you're going to lose a lot in the NFL. I also want to see Philadelphia finally find offensive consistency. Is this the game that kicks the Eagles into gear? Because all year they've been such an up and down, sporadic Jekyll and Hyde unit. Number 3, this defense and this secondary has to play better, especially against a solid weaponry core with Seattle that I talked about with those wide receivers. Get off the field on 3rd downs and get off the field in the red zones and stop giving up touchdowns and force some turnovers. My goodness. And the defensive line has to get home in doing that as well and generate some pressure on the quarterback. Philadelphia, I want to see the Birds show that they want it. They didn't against San Francisco. A.J. Brown even said, we didn't match their level of physicality throughout the entire game. We only did it at times. And against Dallas, it looked as though the Eagles were beat up. They were slow, lacking confidence. And I didn't love the effort. And then lastly, if the Eagles win here, they calm their own nerves with the victory. They calm the nerves of the entire fan base as well, that right now is up in arms. And everybody's talking about Nick Sirianni being on the hot seat, firing Brian Johnson as well as Sean Desai. I understand it's been ugly. Glass half full approach, though. It's good that these struggles are happening right now and not later. Who you got? Eagles, Seahawks. Get those predictions in. I'm riding with the Birds. I think this offense scores some points for the first time in a couple of weeks, and they're consistent. 31-20, my final score.